One more minute so we can get settled. That's okay.
We'll have to stand for the flag anyway.
Yes, okay. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order at this time.
Yeah.
We're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started with 1.3. We have a couple of agenda adjustments for tonight. Katie, do you want to go over them?
Yes,
Uh.
two, one is to,
Can you talk?
oh,
Sorry.
that's okay. The first one is to approve the field trip to Old Spec. I got it. Old Spec. Yes. Tim Farrow, as part of his presentation, will be talking about that. So we could put that after his presentation. You approving a trip he's going to talk about, an overnight trip he's doing, and then the other one is to add budget discussion.
So we're going to be adding a field trip to between 7.1 and 7.2. And any recommendations on where we would like to add the budget discussion? Do we want to add it to old business as a 6.2?
Can we add that to our next meeting, or is there like a timeline that we're trying to follow for the budget discussion?
So, yes,
I
there
gave that to you. Yeah.
There is a timeline we are trying to follow.
We're starting backwards from, we're hoping to have the fourth referendum on the budget election, November 5th. And so we're working back from that. So our hope was to have a public budget meeting on the 23rd. And I know Nicole was going to talk about if we're not going to do a Wednesday, we'd have to make sure we have another
No, we want to
option.
talk about the timing as well
Yeah.
as part of the budget discussion on where we go from here, given the results of yesterday's referendum vote and the timing of how we want to fit that in. Are we,
Oh, no, we're all set. Yeah.
all right, so 6.2, sound good for the budget? Is that what you were thinking, Katie, or did
Well,
you
I
have
was
an
thinking to
idea?
have Tim go first.
Oh, so we're moving Tim from 7.
Well, I'm just saying if wherever the budget meeting, yeah.
Or so do we want to put it under 8, other business?
Yeah, that'd probably be good.
Any objections to that?
Then you get through your work and then get there.
Okay. All righty. Thank you. Do,
No, we got to have a
You gotta
motion.
approve that motion and approve the second.
all right, so are you making the motion, Katie? Would you like me to? I'll make the motion for those two agenda adjustments based on the order that I just went over, 7.2 and 8.
So moved.
Sorry, 7, yeah, between 7.1 and 7.2. Do we have a second? Second, Diane, thank you. Any discussion on that with the board? Kind of had it already. And all those in favor?
Oh, yeah, you got roll
Yeah.
call tonight.
Oh, because
I forgot 'cause
Christy.
Christy's out
That's
there.
right.
Thank-
Sorry,
yes,
Christy
we
is on
did-
is remote today.
All these parts and pieces.
All right, so we'll do a roll call. We're supposed to do it alphabetically, but I'm going to just go in order here. Doug, your vote?
Yes.
Yes. Jill?
No.
Robbie?
Yes.
I vote yes. Diane? Matt?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Scott?
No.
And Christy?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. It passes Next on our agenda is the consideration of the minutes. We have minutes from July 10th, August 13th, August 21st, August 28th, and September 11th. I will go back and we will motion and second each of them. So 2.1, July 10th. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion, we approve the minutes of July 10th, 2024.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call. Doug?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Robbie?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Diane?
Yes. Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Christy? Yes. Thank you. Do we have a motion for the approval of August 13th minutes? Diane moves.
Second.
Thanks, Laura. Doug?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes. No discussion.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. I'm moving too fast. Discussion?
I don't have any discussion.
No,
but
but
I'm
thank
just
you.
saying.
Any
I was
discussion?
called out on my stuff like that.
Any discussion for August 13th? All right, I apologize. So we have Doug, yes. Jill, yes. Robbie?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Diane, yes.
Yes.
Matt? Laura?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Christy? Yes. All right, thank you. 2.3. Motion for August 21st meeting minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, no discussion. Doug?
Yes.
Jill?
Abstaining, I wasn't here for that meeting.
Robbie?
Yes.
Yes for myself.
Yes.
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 And Christy? Yes. 2.4, August 28th meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, Doug?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Robbie?
Yes.
Myself, yes.
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 And Christy? Yes. All right, one more. And 2.5 for September 11th. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? Okay. Doug?
Yes.
Jill?
Abstaining, I wasn't here.
Robbie?
Yes.
Yes for myself.
Yes.
Abstaining.
Yes.
And Christy? Yes. All right, thank you, everybody, for all of that, going through that. Next up on our agenda is public comment. We invite the public to come and speak. And I only have the request that we abstain from indicating any teacher or student names at this time in accordance with our policy. Is there anybody here who would like to speak? Okay, seeing none. It's only online for Christy.
Yeah.
She was unable to attend in person tonight. Youth.
Yeah.
So youth.
Yeah,
Okay.
because it's considered a remote meeting
Okay.
on top. So if there's somebody online, then yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure of how that worked with Christy's last minute request. Thank you. No comments from online? Okay, thank you. Next on our agenda is petitions and communications. Do we have any tonight? None? Moving on to reports. We'll start with superintendent's oral report in 5.1.
Well, really, we've been very busy just responding and doing communications. I do appreciate the efforts to make our PowerPoint around why to vote. For me, it was very empowering to see, the faces behind the work, because sometimes it's hard to understand all the people that do put all their hard work and commitment to the students. And so putting that together with the faces and really showing that, I think, was really important. And I appreciate the work people did to take photos and upload and trying to have that out there, and the ongoing communication. And obviously, last night, disappointed that we were 20 votes short of approving the budget, but hopeful that we'll keep moving forward and, you know, we remain being faithful to what our call and mission is, which is to serve the students and families of RSU4, and we're going to continue to do that. And I know as a board, we're going to get to the point where we have a positive vote.
All right, thank you, Katie. 5.2, our financial report.
That's usually done at the finance and facilities report. We put it there because it's part of the agenda, but Doug will be speaking about it later.
Later on?
Yeah.
Okay. 5.3, director's reports. We are starting with Shelley Mogul this evening.
I just wasn't pushing the button hard enough. So I brought my laptop. This, tells you how old I am because I wasn't sure I'd be able to read the screen from here, but that's great, MJ. Thank you. So this is my first director's report as a staff member here at RSU4. I'm very excited to talk to you about what I've been doing since I arrived. So the heading on my slide kind of captures what I've been doing since I arrived in July, and that is getting to know CAI here in RSU4. And so I thought I would just kind of give you a little sense of the work that's been underway. So I'm very excited to have the opportunity to work with our title-funded coaches. My last job in SAD 44, Bethel, there were no coaches, and I was used to having coaches to work with from being in Auburn. So it's been a great pleasure to work with them. They're a fabulous group of people. And so we meet every other Friday, and we've been working on them really defining how they're going to support staff during Wednesday PD and facilitating meetings. And we've also been doing a lot of work to look at assessment data as it starts to come in this fall. And they're planning their family engagement activities for the year. So we've been busy, very busy. I also oversee Gifted and Talented. And so I meet every other Friday, the opposite Friday, with Ruth Cody, who's our GT teacher here in the district. And so we've been talking about programming. We also are looking at piloting a regional immersive full-day art experiences for our students who are identified in the visual arts in 3rd and 4th grade. So one of the sort of consequences, I guess I could use that word, for the reduction in our specialists is that it's harder for the art teacher to offer an art enrichment class for our identified students at Carrie Ricker. When I was in Auburn, one of my jobs in Auburn was GT, and I oversaw the AVEC program. And so I floated out an idea to the partner districts in our region to say, would you be interested in trying something regional that kind of looks like AVEC? Students engage with artists for full-day events spread throughout the year. And so I have 3 other districts who want to participate, and so we're starting the planning for that right now. So we're kind of excited about that opportunity. I also oversee the nurses, and so they meet every Wednesday. I try to join their meeting once a month. We have some interviews going on, just had one today, 2 more on Friday, for the health aide position that will be open next Friday when Nanette Smith retires. So we're hopeful that we'll get a candidate for that position this week. Another thing this has been, I would say, of this whole list, the newest learning for me is this next one, which is multilingual learners, which you may remember as ELL. That's what it used to be called. And now it's called multilingual learners. And so I've been coordinating that. And although I worked in Auburn, where there's a large multilingual population, we had a coordinator. I really didn't have a lot to do with that programming. So it's been a big learning curve for me. We're in the process of getting ready to screen our new students, and we continue to look for a multilingual teacher. We have that position posted, but we haven't had any luck yet. I've had conversation with a couple other districts who also are looking for multilingual teachers. So there's a possibility we'll end up in a position where we can share a person with another district, which would be great. And of course, I work with staff, so we did a new teacher orientation, which was great. I love new teacher orientation. It gives me a chance to really get to know the new staff that are coming in. So we put that on here in August. I've done work with different groups of teachers. I met with the grade 5 team. There was a change to their courses, and there were some questions about the English language arts standards. So we started some work there with them. And I've been planning and problem solving with building administrators around a variety of things, most recently around our fall testing. So that's keeping me busy. And of course, I also oversee the ESSA grant. And we have some other grants in the district, all of which are wrapping up at the same time, which is great. Horrible, really. So I did get final approval on our FY25 title grant, so that's all good to go. The outdoor learning grant, which of course Tim has been doing a fabulous job with, is wrapped up. So the report for that is due on Tuesday. The literacy grant, the report for that is due October 30th. And then the performance report for last year's title grant is due November 1st. So grant wrap-up and report writing is a big part of my life right now. So those are some of the things I've been working on as I come into the district.
All right, thank you. So we have Justin Kelleher coming, Director of Special Education, for his oral director report.
All right. Hi, everyone. I put together some slides tonight around our staffing and some special education numbers. But before I dive into that, I just want to give a shout out to our special education staff. I've been really impressed with how hard they work and how caring they are and supportive of our students that they are. So just want to give them some kudos. So to start out, if you look at this chart, the column that is labeled staff is our current staffing levels in each building, and the column that is additional positions has to do with things that we're still looking to fill. So in terms of current staffing, Libby Tozier, we're pretty good shape. We do have a resource room teacher starting on October 2nd, so that'll be helpful. SPS, we have a long-term sub filling in for our resource. We have our behavior FLS program fully staffed, and we did get an applicant this week, so that should be helpful. Hopefully we can get an interview on the books. Made a call today, but haven't heard back yet. Carrie Ricker, we're in good shape. All positions are filled. So we have 2 teachers, a behavior FLS teacher, and a resource room teacher, along with 4 ed techs. Oak Hill Middle School, we have 3 open ed tech positions. Right now we have 5 teachers. One of those supports our behavior students, our FLS program, and our resource room. We have 3 teachers there. Oak Hill High School, all positions are filled. We have 4 teachers, behavior support, functional life skills, and 2 resource room teachers, along with 7 ed techs. One thing I do want to point out, and I'd like to talk about at a later meeting, is we have a lot of related service providers, speech, OT, PT, physical therapy, all those types of things. So I think that would be helpful to talk about at another meeting. Next slide. All right. So the next slide has to do with child count. So on October 1st of every year, we have to submit our information regarding students with disabilities to the main DOE. So this count really, I looked at a 5-year span. So if you look at all the way back to 2021, we were at 232 students, and you can kind of see the trend has obviously been upward. In terms of this year, we're up 19 students. 28 students exited at the end of last year, transfers, graduates, those types of things. We had 47 students enter the district this year, so 29 of those were transfers and 18 of those were from CDS. So put together, I have to give Shelley a shout out here. I'm more of a bullet checklist kind of person, so Shelley helped me put together these fancy looking slides, so I appreciated that. This next slide has to do with this school year, and there's 13 categories by which students can qualify for special education. So this is a breakdown of what it looks like here in our district. So speech and language, we have 53 students identified, 18.7% of that 284. Students with autism, 38%. Emotional disabilities, 38 students. Emotional disabilities, 33 students. Intellectual disabilities, I can't see that, but it's 4.2%, so a little bit smaller. Multiple disabilities, so students that have, multiple different things going on. Out of those 13 disability categories, we have 27 students. Other health impairment, obviously that's the biggest piece of the pie here. That's 72 students. That really, the majority of that is our students who have ADHD. That falls under the other health impairment category. And then lastly is the specific learning disability. We have 49 students identified with SLD. So last slide just really has to breaks down our caseloads. And I will say, obviously, as you go through, the caseloads at the elementary schools are smaller, but let's not forget there are younger students who have a lot of needs. So often, the staff to student ratio is obviously higher, but it's warranted at that level. So Libby Tozier right now in our behavior support and FLS program, we have 10 students. Resource room, I included here for Libby Tozier. We have some kids that are in referral at Libby Tozier that likely are going to need services, so we'll be up to 5 for the resource room. Sabatis Primary, 8 in our behavior FLS program, and then 12 in the resource room. Carrie Rickard, 10 behavior FLS, and 24 in resource room. Oak Hill Middle, we have 17 students in our behavior support program, 9 in functional life skills, and 59 students in resource. And then Oak Hill High School, 12 in our behavior support, 15 in functional life skills, and 42 in resource room. And just at the bottom, I wanted to note we have 16 students currently out of district, 1 student's on a wait list, and another student is in referral. So, any questions? Yeah.
Yeah, can you explain to the audience what, I know we're looking for resource teachers, but
Yeah.
what a resource teacher
Yeah.
actually does in that room?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Our resource room instruction really centers on academics, reading, writing, math, specially designed instruction in those areas. Students may present with some kind of, behavior challenges, but it's more along the academic support in the resource room model.
Great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Any other questions? Yeah.
Do you have any students in self-contained?
Yeah, so the behavior FLS columns, those students are in a self-contained model, maybe not all of them. So like, for example, I was over at Sabatis today and talking with the staff over there, and out of that 8, 7 were self-contained. So something to keep in mind that when we talk about behavior support and functional life skills, those students typically spend the majority of the day in the special education classroom. All right, thanks.
All right, thank you, Justin. We have Norma Jean next.
Good evening, everybody. First off, you want to click to the first slide, Justin? I just wanted to give a big thank you because I speak too low. I just want to thank all of you for the budget vote meeting at the high school, all of you that stepped in and talked about technology and the use of technology, not replacing textbooks. That was amazing, and so kudos to all of you for speaking up. I just want to say a thank you for that. And then I just, because technology isn't a replacement for books, but we do a lot with it. I mean, Mrs. Whalen can speak a lot for that, but we use it for like social learning tools. So it looks like social media. So like Seesaw is very social media oriented. So we're teaching them the correct way to use technology through safe tools, which is great. So that's just and that's one of my techs at the middle school working with a student. So I thought that would be a good shout out. Oops, I'm clicking and it's not me. Next slide. Yep. Thank you. All right, so for this one, so it's the beginning of the year, so I just wanted to do like a staffing overview. So for the technology team, there's myself as the director, the data specialist, which is housed here at central office, and then we have 4 technicians, and the way they're distributed, each year we kind of distribute a little bit different, depends on what's going on in each site. So we have 1 tech at the high school, 1 at the middle school, we have 1 that's split between Carricker and Libby Tozier, and then 1 over at Sabattis Primary. But if you remember right, we lost our network specialist, so he's kind of stepping into a little bit of that role and doing some networking district-wide, so it's kind of a hybrid type of position. And then, just like it's almost identical to last year's slide, I just kind of put in there, you know, what the teachers have for devices, what students have for devices at each grade level. So teachers have a combination of MacBooks, iPads, Chromebooks, depending on the level. Students have iPads for grades pre-K through 8, and then 3 through 8 have the keyboard case with them. 9, 12 is the Chromebooks, and something that changed this year is the 9th graders got the Chromebooks through the MLTI program. So that was great, so no impact to the budget, so we were able to replenish a full grade level, no cost to us. So, and for the classrooms, we have a large combination of projectors, display TVs, interactive whiteboards, document cameras, all the type of stuff that we support. And then staff, you know, district-wide or in the offices have a combination of Windows PCs, Chromebases, laptops, and Chromebooks. Okay, so this slide is almost identical to the slide of last September. So we've been promoting our RSU4 app, and I'll get into more detail in a few minutes, like for the last year, to get parents onto there. So we have the app. It kind of is a mobile app to kind of mirror our website. And it's also a great place for the news to get out and, you know, and those type of things. But we've added a new feature, and then because we've been so busy with new staff and everything, the welcome email to parents went out without us announcing it first. So, you know, you can't have a year start without some sort of hiccup, and that was a hiccup. So parents were great. That they were very concerned that maybe it was a phishing thing, and so we got a lot of questions, so I appreciated that, which is great. Everybody's doing that. And so we're doing a very soft rollout, so we're rolling out gradually. We're supporting our staff, supporting our parents, and the big thing is to get our parents onto the app, get them accepting that email and setting up their account so that as teachers decide to roll out Rooms, which is a 2-way communication tool with parents, that they'll be ready. So that's a cool thing. Next. Okay, so this is how it all integrates together. So we have our web page, and then we have our mobile app. And then inside, there's all kinds of names. You can't be a technology vendor if you don't have 6 names. So it's Apogee, and it's ThrillShares, and it's EDU Rooms, but it's all integrated together. So inside the program that does our website is also the same program that does our alerts. So soon, and Sheena will probably talk about this too, is we'll be able to send out alerts by bus color. That would be exciting, right? To be able to say the yellow bus and just send it to people who ride the yellow bus, that would be exciting. And so we do our news, we do alerts, we could do texting, messaging, that whole thing. But the next piece that goes on is Rooms. And so Rooms is a safe, HIPAA compliant, it keeps a history so people aren't using their cell phones to text, that we can actually talk with a full class of students, a full class of students' parents. We could talk to single parents, like if a nurse wanted to talk and have a communication with a diabetic parent, they could in a safe environment. And so that will happen inside Rooms, which is all part of, they can do it on their laptop, they can do it on their mobile device as well. And so, I mean, almost everybody has that computer right in their pocket. So if they could be notified things so quickly, the yellow bus is running late, it's a pop-up just like, Facebook Messenger type of thing that kind of pops up on your screen. So it's nice to have everything integrated together so there isn't that you've got to have one program talking to another program to talking to another program. And these are all things that were integrated into our website, and we're just kind of gradually rolling out one piece at a time. All right, so this is just another thing about Rooms, and I'm going to share the link at the top with all of you, so you'll see in your email. There's a little video there that talks about how teachers and parents use Rooms, but we know how the videos work on these, and they don't really work really well. And I don't want to try it with the Zoom, but there is a link on the top or the Rooms. It just kind of gives you a little overview. Justin? Okay, and so for teacher and staff support for Rooms, so like I said, it's a nice soft rollout. So we had our tech coaches, last year's tech coaches were trained on Rooms, or more of like an overview last spring. We offered 6 one-hour Zoom vendor-led trainings on the 2 workshop days, October 26th and 27th. And then we're offering additional training and support, and building admin are helping me arrange that during PLGs and, and team leaders and that type of thing. The A-team, we had our training originally scheduled for our August retreat. That just didn't work out right. There were different things going on, and so it's actually rescheduled for tomorrow. For the A-team and the administrators, they'll use alerts more than they will use rooms, but I think it's super important that we all know how to use that. I'll be meeting with the nurses next week to show them how to do that, especially for their diabetic parents, how to communicate in rooms on October 2nd. And then a couple of questions and answers, and I thank Jill for this because she emailed me and I was able to answer her back and kind of prepare. As far as people worried that Google Classroom or Seesaw are going away, definitely not. Those are great tools. They're great learning management tools. Teachers love them. They're great for remote days, and it's a different kind of tool. So we're definitely keeping both. And then the question about the email that they got. So that's their first step for parents to get that app loaded on their phone and accept that email and set up their account so that when teachers are ready to publish, we can do that. And do I have another slide? I can't remember. I should click my own thing here. Nope. Okay. Any questions for me? Thank you very
All right,
much.
thank you. Next up, we have Sheena Jordan, our transportation director.
Good evening. Oh, I'm a little short, sorry. I want to start out by saying thank you to all of our bus drivers. We have a really strong team, and they're always there to stand up and fill in when needed and help out when needed. And we have some new drivers this year, so they're helping them out too while on the road. And so I wanted to say thank you to our team of bus drivers that we have. We have all 10 bus runs open. That includes the Red Run. We have 12 full-time drivers, so the other 2 are our flex drivers that fill in when we have a driver out. We have 2 subs that are available when they're available. It's not a set thing, but they're available to us. And then we have 2 in training as well. One will be a full-time driver, and one will be another sub to have. We did hire a bus driver to fill our last open position. That was the other flex position. So I'm happy to say that we have all of our runs covered now and all of our slots open, hired, and we now have 3 transfer buses from SPS instead of 2, so this is making it so there's less kids on the bus going to Carrie Ricker and Libby Tozier. And also, if we have a bus down, we can still fit all those students on the other 2 transfer buses. We've integrated GPS routing for the drivers, so all of their routes are built in our GPS software, stop by stop, with every student added to those stops and the time that they're supposed to be at those stops. And they are using those in their buses. They can listen to the directions, and it's really helpful for our sub drivers as well. We're utilizing our flex driver, one of our flex drivers, for the inner office mail. So we've got him going around doing that for us. And a couple of other things that I didn't put up there. We had our bus state inspections last week. They went really well. He said that our fleet looked amazing. We had minimal things that we need to do, and but overall, he said our fleet looked awesome. And then one more other thing NJ mentioned is we're working with Power School or in Power School to get all those codes put in to make sure that when we have to send an all call out about a specific bus, it's able to go just to those parents related to that bus. So our new bus drivers are Kathy Levesque, Fred Thompson, and Gina Kupkovic. So if you see them out on the road, give them a shout out and say hi. Does anybody have any questions?
Will this help with sports transportation?
Yes. So one of those sub drivers loves transporting sports teams, and he is all about it. So he's like, yeah, yep. So, but our other flex driver has been helping out with sports when he can, when he's not covering a run.
I just wanted to make a quick comment that I noticed the other day somebody had mentioned just making sure your house number or number is on so that when buses are subbing or flexing that they know where they're at. And I thought that was a really helpful kind of tip and trick for people. So.
Yeah, that is really helpful. You know, for sub drivers especially, they have to remember all these stops for all these kids, and having the number on the mailbox or their mailbox cleared too with just is super helpful.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And Mark Taylor and Jim Palmer are not here this evening, so that is it for our director's reports. Now we will move on to our old business. I see you in there with me, Katie. You good? Okay. So 6.1, looking for a motion to approve that the computation and declaration of votes dated and attached here to be, and it is hereby approved, and further, that the computation and declaration of votes be entered upon the records of Regional School Unit Number 4, also known as the Regional School Unit, and further, that a certified copy of the computation and declaration of votes to be sent, to each of the municipal clerks with the Regional School Unit.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, roll call with Doug,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Robbie,
Yes.
myself, yes,
Yes.
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 and Christy? Yes. Thank you.
And you do need to sign this form.
Okay, on to new business. 7.1, Tim Farrar. Oh, jeez. Farrar. I was thinking Farrar. Okay, I was thinking I should have been paying more attention when Katie said it a few times.
I answered anything. We're good.
Okay, so you're going to share some
I
information.
guess, yeah, more pictures than information. I'll talk, but I'm a visual person. I don't have bullets to say, and I'm going to hopefully show a little bit what we got after this summer. Katie saw me in the hallway. She's in our schools all the time. Said, you need to come tell these people what you did, what happened this summer, and I'm very happy to be in front of you tonight. So I guess point and click away. So I just was thinking about this, not the movie The Notebook, but or the book The Notebook. But I was in my garage, cleaning the garage, getting away from my kids and wife, and I saw old notebook I had from a conference I'd been to 20 years ago. And in it, I had outlined the perfect outdoor learning program I wanted. That was 2004, literally 2004, 20 years ago, and it is now happening. I am very proud to be a part of that. The support that has happened here has made my personal and professional dreams come true. I really, so that's what this is tonight, is kind of share what I've been able to do this year with all the support that this district has shown, the families, the community, and especially the kids. So that's what this is. And I kind of outlined it, you know, our school, it's a big part of our culture. I had so many people come up to me at open houses, 8th grade night, and just say, I was in the outing club back then. Somebody met their wife there. I don't know if that's what we're trying to promote necessarily, but that's what somebody said. Those long-lasting relationships, I think, do matter. Our students have definitely bought in and are excited by this. Our staff has, our leadership, that's you in this room, and those that have the offices at school, our community and our state. And it really, the money that was set aside with the Outdoor Learning Initiative advanced what we were doing incrementally, and the support that started since I've been here advances a decade. We are much further along with what we have for equipment and resources Like I said, on that notebook I had 20 years ago, we're where we need to be, and now I need to turn the next page, I guess. I don't know what's on that page, but you could turn
You'll
the next
let
page
us
in.
know,
I'll
I'm
let
sure.
you know, yeah. I was putting this together today, and I was like, where do we go? You know, I think it's important to see that. I'm going to reference this, I guess, in a minute, but we covered a big chunk of the state. We went to Penobscot Bay and Warren Island to end the school year and start the summer. I took a group fishing up in Augusta area and then down to Pine Point there in Scarborough. We went to Libby Hill and Gray and rode mountain bikes. We climbed Mount Katahdin up in Baxter State Park, and we went to Umbagog Lake, and that's in the top left there in western Maine on the New Hampshire border, and that's where we finished our summer. The first thing we did, first summer activity we did was fishing, and we went all over. Like I said, we were able to catch some stripers. We did a fly fishing day. I've yet to catch a fish when we go fly fishing, so I think I'm a poor guide when it comes to that. But I think one of the great lessons there is the frustration, and one of the things I start each week with and each lesson is I'm going to make you uncomfortable. I think it's important with our students to understand that. I don't think they're great at being uncomfortable. I don't think any of us are, and I'm not going to make them unsafe. I'm not going to put them at risk, but I think it's important for them to be frustrated a little bit and to struggle a little bit and to fail a little bit. But my goodness, when you catch a fish, you get a big smile on your face like those young men in those pictures do. And we're able to, our best day, and Mr. Daniels behind me recommended this, was Cobussy Stream. We had a great day there, and what a gem that is to have in our own community. And we caught some smallmouth. We just had a great day. I think every kid caught a fish that day, and that was a really good way to end that week. So, thank you. We went camping out in Warren Island. We took a ferry boat, which is not much bigger than any fishing boat you've ever been on. Bounced us across the bay. I don't do well with that. I didn't put that picture in here, but I was a little bit green, like my shirt I was wearing. But we had a great time there. And we were by ourselves. We did a service project there. They had some beach erosion, and they have campsites that we worked on. And we got to move brush, and then every high school boy's dream: start a fire and watch it burn. I mean, we got to do that by the water, and that was through the generosity of the Maine Inland Trails Association and Teens to Trails, who helped guide us there. Then we did a biking week. This was the first week of the summer, and it was the hottest week of the summer as well. I don't know how that was, but I remember Katie emailed me, "What's your plan, Tim?" I'm like, "I have a plan, Katie. I'm going to tell you." We were really smart about that. The 2 days that it was 100 degrees, we were able to get some swimming at the end of the day. But we were able to really we only had 2 kids sign up for this one, which is unfortunate, but we were able to do some trail riding, some road riding, and some urban infrastructure. Learning that, we went to Lewiston and rode around town to learn what good bike infrastructure is. They have some there, and then they have places that they don't. So that was a big part of that. And the 2 gentlemen that went had a great week together. We went up and we climbed Mount Katahdin. We had some success there, and we had some struggles there. One of it rained like you wouldn't believe one of the nights, and we learned about the improper use of rain flies and what that'll do if you don't put them on tight. And so we got to sleep and shower at the same time that night for those that didn't do it right. But we had a great time. Like I said, some kids had some success, some kids had some struggles, and that was good. I think they came away learning some lessons, and I think I know I called Sheena, I think, on the way up because we had a van issue, and we were able to fix that issue. And the boys were in a vehicle that didn't have air conditioning, and so luckily I'm nose deaf, so it wasn't a big deal for me. So, but next one. And this was the biggest, most challenging, and I sold it this way. This is the biggest, most challenging event of the summer, our paddling unit. We went up to the headwaters of the Androscoggin River and on Umbagog Lake on the Rapid River, and we did some Class 1 and Class 2 learning on rapids. We paddled the first day. We had to paddle 8 miles across the lake. You can see in that lower left picture, that's Umbagog Lake. And we camped on Cedar Stump Campground, which is it's in the National Wildlife Refuge. It's run by the Rangeley Lakes Association. And we were there for 5 days. There is no internet there. Thank God, there's no cell phones. There's no running water. There's a lot of spiders in the outhouse, okay? We were able to do some fishing. We were able to do some canoeing and some swimming and camping. You can see the group. We combined the group from Mountain Valley. The gentleman up there with the green shirt in the top right is Todd Papiano. He's a main guide as well. He's their outdoor educator up in Rumford. And the kids had to take care of camp. They had to cook. They had to clean. They had to do a lot of the work. We obviously supported them, but they showed a lot of leadership in that, and we had a great week. And up next, the thing I'm requesting tonight, nice job with the picture, NJ. That's nice. That's much better than what I had. We're going to go up to Old Spec and Grafton Notch here in another 2 weeks. Hopefully still have some nice colors when we get up there, taking a group, and that's part of the outing club for that. So that's all I have. I don't have a lot of bullets, I have a lot of pictures, but any
Okay.
questions? I can talk more detail about the trip if you'd like to hear that too. I don't know if that's what's coming up. We're gonna camp out the 10th in the Bethel area and then hike the next morning. Old Spec is the 4th largest mountain in Maine. It's part of the Mahoosucs. It's the tallest one in the White Mountains in Maine. Going up the Appalachian Trail and then coming back that day. So it's a quick one, but that's the plan there. So we're planning on taking a van full, which is up to 11 students on that.
All right, thank you. Any questions about that? So that is our addition, our agenda addition to approve. Do you have the language for that? Just
To approve the overnight of, well, if you want to say Old Spec Mountain.
Yep.
Thank you. As presented.
perfect.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
You said 11 kids.
That's as much as the van will hold. But
Is it variety of girls and boys?
this is primarily, we go into details, but the way that the Katahdin trip worked, only the boys made it to the top. And I felt as a leader that was a failure on my part and our co-leader, and we wanted to take that group of girls to the top of a mountain. So that's why we put this trip together.
What is the cost?
We're going to charge the kids $25. I've got to pay for food. I've got to pay for the campsite.
How, I get through the whole program. What's your selection process like? You run me through that. You
And
post it
anybody
somewhere,
that is an Oak Hill High School Raider can be in the outing club. I had kids. We did a trip. We went to Woodbury Pond on Monday. And I had kids that had 5 freshmen that were walking down the halls and asked me about it. I said, yeah, you can do it. Here's the form. Sign this and come out. So anybody can do that. The summer stuff, you had to sign up. But again, that was open to anybody. What that looks like in the future, well, that's up in the air, I think, of what we can do in the future. But obviously, I'd like to continue with more summer program. And then we also have the outdoor phys ed class that, again, we have 3 sections of that now. So that's another option for these sort of things.
And when you don't have space, do you target students that haven't had this opportunity in their own?
I don't know the algebra of how Mel puts a schedule together, how that works, to be very honest with you. I know that we have more kids that want to get in it than can get in it. I mean, I can't take more, as a main guide, I can't have more than 12 people with me under my guidance on the water, for example, and our vans can only hold 11, and that's kind of been the cutoff number. But I do think there's more interest for sure. Yeah. And I've had some kids that are able to take it again. It makes their schedule works out. But then I have other kids that they're like, I have a bunch of LRTC kids that really there's just no space in their schedule. So.
It's great to see the students like sledding and riding bikes and just doing things to learn what you can do out in the outdoors and doing the trails and stuff.
Yeah, and that's our project, Scott. Yeah. We have a great campus. You know, there's a lot of things we hear we don't have. We have a great campus for outdoor stuff at Oak Hill, for sure. It's been a luxury.
All right. Any other discussion? Or Chris, are you keeping an eye on Christy? Okay. Just want to make sure in case I haven't heard from her. So, All right, we'll go ahead and vote. Doug?
Yes.
Jill?
Absolutely, yes.
Robbie?
Yes.
Myself, yes.
For sure, yes.
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 Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. Oh, Christy, see, and I just remembered her too, and then I just forgot her. Thank you. Sorry, Christy. That is how quickly my brain forgets. All right, so now we can move on to True 7.2, prior 7.2, which was to approve Bill Long as the physical education teacher for Sabatis Primary, Libby Tozier, and Cary Riger Schools as recommended by the superintendent.
So moved.
Second.
And discussion?
No, he's not.
Not here, okay.
I did see him in action today at Sabatis Primary School. He's doing great. The kids are really responding well to his style, and it's great to see him. He's a coach too in Scarborough football team.
All right, no discussion. I'll call for the vote. Doug?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Robbie?
Yes.
Myself, yes.
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 All right.
Yes.
Grace, thank you. I'm glad you're paying attention. Somebody's got to keep me in check. Okay. Now we move on to 7.3. To nominate a delegate who will attend the October 19, 2024 MSBA Delegate Assembly. So this has to do with the resolutions that were provided in your packet. And if there was anybody here who, on our board that would like to nominate anybody to attend on our RSU4 school board behalf.
You have a date in there?
October 19th. It is a Saturday. Are there any nominations?
I know Nicole's willing if somebody nominates her.
I was going to say
I nominate Nicole Russell.
I did want to allow others to nominate others if that were the case, but if hearing none,
Second.
I accept the nomination. Any discussion on that? Okay, we'll call for the vote. Doug?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Robbie?
Yes.
I vote yes.
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
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 Christy?
Yeah.
Thank you. I didn't forget you that time. Okay, on to other business, which is where we tucked in our continued budget discussion. Yeah, just coming off of last night's vote. And we need to figure out, what we want to do, what we want to advise Katie of, to proceed on how we want her to go forward with figuring out what to do next and proposing to us. And we have to figure out a timeline for that. So, any preference on which one we start with?
Let's do timeline.
Diane says, let's do timeline. Yep, so am I the only one who has this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So if we were to follow along with our standard that we have been doing, and I say it that way because it is open for discussion. I want to say, this is not what it has to be. We were thinking that we would have our board discussion and approval on our next school board meeting scheduled for October 9th. And then, if necessary, depending on how that discussion goes, we would try and squeeze in a special. That would be a special board meeting, right, Katie?
Yeah, if we can't come to a conclusion on the night.
Then we would propose to have a special board meeting on October 16th. Both of those would be at 6:30 p.m. at central office, and I think they're both Wednesdays. Then it would be a public budget meeting on Wednesday, October 23rd at the Oak Hill High School at 6:30 p.m. And that brings us to the referendum vote on November 5th with the regular election underway. So this is up for discussion. Wanted to get your thoughts, preference, ideas. You know, there's generally some discussion about, it being on Wednesdays or 6:30 p.m. It's not a suitable option for some, but it is in line with our standard board meeting schedule, which is set by our policy. But I will say that we have 45 calendar days from September 24th. So that is our end date, which actually is November 8th, right? So if we go with November 5th, we're within those 45 days. And if we go with October 9th and actually have an approved proposed budget to bring to referendum, to the budget meeting, the 7 calendar days would be October 22nd. So that being said, October 22nd is probably the earliest we can get it in, and that's if we have an approved number on October 9th. And the latest would be any time before November 5th, probably a little bit before November 5th, but that's your time, your options if you don't like a Wednesday, if you want to pursue a different day or a different time. Thoughts? And I mean, it's not much. It looks like all the other ones that we've had. Yeah, I just got the new dates.
I think that looks good. And I think having the election with the regular election will pull more people in, especially since it's a presidential election. One of our problems is we can't get enough people to vote.
Oh, the problem is we can't get the right people to vote. So,
Yeah.
Could you elaborate on that, please?
meaning right, I mean, just parents that care about, care about their kids learning.
I'm
and
not
every-
really sure these comments are necessary at this time. I don't. What's a wrong voter?
No, I'm just saying people not voting in general. I don't mean right or wrong. I mean just we don't get the right amount of people in is what I'm saying. Not right people, wrong people. Right amount of people in. If we got more people in, like Diane said at the general election, I think that's the best that we could ever ask for. And I don't think we've ever had a vote on a general election, have we?
I know, last year we were at the same date.
Okay.
It was close, same, not same.
It
date,
wasn't
but
a presidential election.
Wasn't
That's what I
presidential,
mean.
but it was
wasn't
a
presidential
election.
election.
It was election time, though, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah.
There was it was
And we
an
had,
off cycle.
because I remember being there because I counted votes, and there were a lot more people that voted
Yeah.
because of the general election. So, I think that's a good time to have it.
So thoughts on? So I think November 5th makes the most sense. We will get probably a bigger voter turnout because of that. Yes, Christy.
I would love to just toss out the idea of not doing the public hearing on a Wednesday. I saw loud and clear from many families that reached out personally to me that the perception is by continuing to have these on a Wednesday, it's silencing critical people. I know that is not our intent, but I think perception is something to take into consideration. So I wonder, do we look at a Friday or a weekend? I'm not sure that that's going to bring more people out, and I know none of us want to give up a weekend, but I think we need to do something different.
Go ahead, Laura. Thank you, Christy.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea maybe for the next year's opportunity to do something on a different day. I think probably for this one, I would encourage, like after school activities and coaches and all of those types of things to be a little proactive as well, and maybe not have a second grade practice of soccer or something those nights. I think it is important for people to be able to have time to come out. Being a parent with 2 kids in the district as well that are in sports and involved and sitting at this table and working and all of the things that we do, I still did find time to go vote at my local polling place. And, I understand not everyone can do that, but there's absentees, there's lots of things. And two, I do struggle a little bit. I know that we had one community member at the last meeting I attended before the 11th. I had made the comment that we didn't have anyone ever reach out to us. And I do know that we had one person send us an email. And I haven't seen anything else. But, I think that there's been a lot of opportunity for questions. I think there's been a lot of discussion. I think there's been all the things. And we had a total between all 3 towns of 767 people. Whether it was a yes or a no, that's who showed up. So I think at some point, besides me going and picking up people to bring them, what else can you do? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of where it's at. Like, the good or the bad, you're voting yes or you're voting no. But I think it's disheartening to see that 767 people showed up. And the polling places, Wales is open 7 to 8, Sabattis and Litchfield are open 8 to 8, and absentee ballots and all the things. I don't know. So I do think that maybe for the 2025-2026 that we're going to be having in 2 or 3 short months here, I think that's a great suggestion, is starting it off with an opportunity and I would give up a Saturday to not give up 10 more of my Wednesdays. So I think, and same with the town offices, all of this costs taxpayers money to hold these referendums and these public votings and all of these things. And then you're also taking away from administrator time and staff time in the district because they're sitting through all of these as well. So I just think that for this one, I think if it goes through staying on track with the Wednesdays and then some of the other conflicting things that are happening, take a night off to allow people to go do that, and skip a practice or so that day. I think that's initiative that some of those other extracurricular things can initiate for that. And then I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing to try for the 2025-2026, and we can at least say that we tried it, good, bad, or different. It was something different, and we're starting that budget discussion off this way. Thank you for my ramble.
Thank you, Laura. Go ahead, Diane.
I'm not sure there are absentee ballots going out. Are we going to be in time to get that in the absentee ballot?
Yes. Okay. Is it going to put pressure on the towns and the clerks? Absolutely. And we recognize that.
Okay.
There's just no way around it. If we don't put it on there, it's a hard one. But I think we do have to recognize it's putting more pressure on our town clerks. But yes.
Go ahead, Robbie.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right, Laura, that I know when I was a director for baseball during that vote, I just would not have practice that night. And I would say, I'm not going to have practice that night. I don't care which way your parents vote, but if they can, go out and vote. And if you're talking about a 3rd or 4th grade football practice, I think coming to a budget meeting at Oak Hill is way more important to get your voice heard than a practice for 3rd or 4th grade football. So maybe we can reach out to the rec departments and give them a heads up and say, hey, look, maybe you can talk to your coaches and say, you know, if we can skip this practice or we can get this practice over early, you know, 15, 20 minutes early so the parents can make the meeting, you know, that would be a step in the right direction for this year. And, you know, people always have things going on, whether it's a Saturday, a Friday, or whatever, but it's what people think are important. So I guess if we could reach out to the rec departments and say, hey, look, you know, we have a vote coming up on this Wednesday night. If you don't have a game, and if you think you can, you know, forego one practice, that would be a great way to get, you know, to let parents know that we are voting.
Jill?
I agree with Laura to keep it the same this year and maybe re-evaluate it in the next coming year.
Okay, thank you. Any other opinions on Wednesday or not Wednesday?
Why don't we ask people at the budget meetings what they think? That might be a good way of looking at it too. Like survey them and see what would work better.
Yeah, a challenge is the moderator. So, you know, I definitely need to consult with probably Randy Greenwood at this point, because if he can't do a certain date, we would have to hire a different moderator. So he does it voluntarily. But I can check with him, especially as give him plenty of time, like if we did it on a Saturday or a different day. What does he think about that? And get feedback from him as well.
And then I was, when I went and voted, I was a little bit surprised because I thought we had talked at one point about like, is it high, is it low? Like, why are you not like polling people a little bit? And I didn't see that. So I think that would be a good thing for the following year. Like, obviously we all kind of want it to not have a million meetings throughout the summer. But I think that would be a helpful point right out of the gate the following year. But
Doug?
I think the biggest issue, I agree with everything Laura said too, just for the record, but I think what we need to brainstorm is if we even have a survey at the voting polls or we're still only addressing the people that are showing up anyway. And our biggest challenge is that we as a group really need to figure out the other, I didn't do the math, but what, 90%, 80% of the voting populace that's not responding in any way to this. We need to figure out how to get in contact with them or to somehow show them the importance of coming to the polls to vote yes or no. But we need them to show up so we can at least have more insight as to how the majority of the three towns feel. And I think that's what we should be spending the time personally to do, is figure out how we can honestly get these other percentage of people that aren't showing up to show up. I don't know.
Thank you, Doug. Anybody else on Wednesday or not Wednesday? I mean, I know we continue to have discussions about how do we get more people out there. I don't know that there is a magic wand that could give us that information. You go for a Saturday and you're going to have some
people at work or
work
all of the
or,
things.
Grocery shopping day or football games. Every night is difficult. So go ahead, Doug, you have something to say?
Laura has her hand up.
Oh, did I not say? I'm
That's
sorry.
okay. So just curious at this budget discussion, just around the dates, or is it also around a number, or are we changing anything, or like what's some of that discussion on thoughts?
So the first part is to get this.
Okay.
Is this the timeline we want to go with? Are we going to stick with October 23rd as proposed by the schedule that I went over? And I was actually just going to call. Well, I don't know if I could do that because Chrissy's on, right? Is she? I don't see her. We can't see her. She's not on camera.
She's not feeling well enough.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to.
So no.
She's not well.
Can you have the little emoji or something? Yeah, we could do a thumbs up if we, and then I'll get to you, Doug. If we, let's get timeline, and then the next part was to go with the what do we want to do next for the number and approval, and or send Katie away and have her come back October 9th. So, thumbs up or down for sticking with Wednesday, October 23rd. I see thumbs up all around.
Christie
And
did too.
Christy did too. All right, so I think that makes sense. I think it's difficult no matter what.
We'll publish that tomorrow.
Okay, so then the next half of this, Doug, what you had your hand raised, sorry.
I had two questions, I guess. The first one is the absentee ballots. Do people still need to apply for an absentee ballot, right? Is that, because I don't remember how that works, just to run me through how the absentee
Yeah, I believe they
ballot-
have to request or
Yeah.
apply through the town.
And they have to show up at the town office to get the absentee ballot? Or do they just call them and they mail them? An
They can
I
make.
would suggest that they contact their polling place. I would suggest that people contact their town office to understand how their absentee ballot works for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, is that something we have? I never do it, so I guess I just block it out. I don't notice the absentee ballot, and I'm just brainstorming. Is that information that we provide on those little note cards, the absentee ballot number for each of the towns? Maybe that will help them make the information more accessible. Because I know we say you can use an absentee ballot. Maybe we could provide the number or the steps. I don't know. As like a little thing
Just
on
call
the
your
card.
town.
Do we have the
Just-
dates that those are going to be going out? Because there's parts of the country have already started voting. So
That's another question for your town.
Yeah.
right. So
Yeah.
we need to does this timeline line up with that?
That's what I just asked.
They're
Yeah,
gonna
I
have,
mean-
no, they're gonna have to do two things. They treat them two different ways. Well, each town. I talked to Sharon about how they handle it in Wales, and that's how they handled it last time, is they run both things differently. So they run the presidential election, and then they run the school referendum. So it's making double the work, yes.
So
We're
perhaps
not gonna be-
somebody
we-
could be getting two.
Absentee
Different-
ballot. They just
I don't-
can't, they can't get them because of our timeline, they can't get it at the same time because they're looking to get out the presidential ballot the week that we would have for approving a budget. But because of our timelines and trying to work, because we have the public budget meeting, we can't align with that so that they would go together. So they would have to, you're right, a citizen would have to ask for an absentee ballot for that. And then when the budget referendum ballot is ready, they'd have to ask for that. It's two things, two different asks.
So they have to ask separate?
Yeah.
Two different processes, because when you ask for a presidential absentee ballot, you have to do it through the state. There's an electronic request form that you have to fill out. There's like an application. With the one for our local referendum, that will be handled locally. So it'll be two separate dealings.
And so is there just like maybe on our website page it could point to a link? I don't know. I don't mind checking with Sabatis if they have instructions on their website of how to acquire an absentee ballot, but maybe a link could just point to each town's website for further information. But I really just suggest people to contact their town office, their local.
Yeah, I can look to see what they have. We'll make a slide about that. The last time we did the referendum, I put when absentee ballots are available, and I did not do it this time. So we can add that back.
I just follow up. I feel like if maybe we can streamline that process for them, they'd be more inclined to do it, the absentee ballot system, if they know they won't make it. I don't know.
We can give them the information, right? But it's still it's separate, right?
Leave
Each
them-
town does their own absentee
Yeah.
process, so that makes it a little bit more difficult. But we can give them that information. I did hear some people didn't even realize that they could get one. So just giving that information might help. You did say you had two questions. Did you ask them both?
I think the second one, never mind.
Okay. Okay, so we've established the timeline. And now we have to move on to what we want to do about the number. How do we want this to look? Is there a number people are thinking of? If anybody has reached out to you, or what you're hearing, what you're thinking, if we want to go by a number, if we want to go by a percentage, like what information do we want to provide to Katie to see what she can come up with for our in-depth discussion on the 9th. Yes, Doug.
I'll start with it.
Sure.
I think if we're targeting the 700, almost 800 people that voted last time, we're probably going to have to drop the number to get the people that said no out of that group to say yes. But personally, I don't want to drop the number anymore because I personally am at the lowest that I feel like the school budget should be at. So I think for me, it still seems to be to try to call to arms the people that haven't voted, whose thoughts haven't been included. Personally, I push to keep the number the same and really try to just get more people to show up to the polls, which I know the people that said no are going to be feel they're not being heard. I feel like there's a large population that we're not hearing from. And I don't think it's fair for the budget and for the schools and the students to just keep dropping the number to try to sway the 393 people to say yes. I don't think that's a fair strategy. And that's, I guess, my opinion on it. So to start the comments.
Okay, Doug, and I think that's fair too. Like that is an option. You know, we could maintain where we're at and see if there's a difference in the polls. But I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. And I think it's going to be difficult for this budget, right? I think we talked about that last meeting. You know, there's more we would like to do, which is why we proposed a budget committee, and we're talking through that, but that doesn't solve for today. Any other comments, thoughts, Diane?
Just wondering, Katie, at this point, are there any things that you see coming in at a lower amount than what we were projected?
Well, we did that last time, and we certainly can look at it. Yeah. I mean, that's what we've been doing, kind of a give and take. And, you know, I've said this before, what's hard is you continue to tighten, we can't respond if something were to happen.
Right.
And that's what makes us anxious, is if suddenly we have an influx or something happens or something goes down and we're so tight that we can't come back. I mean, we just don't want that to happen. So it'd be hard to say, can you cut another 20,000? I mean, we can look. I think too, what people miss is they look at that bottom number, and I understand that, like, oh, that's a big budget. But we've really done, on the other side, added revenue so that the tax impact has gone down. So even though the total budget doesn't reflect really the impact on taxes, because the board has brought down the increase to taxes $1 million, almost $1 million from the initial budget. And so although the budget looks like it, yes, the total increase for additional taxes, for your taxes, was at 1.4 million, and now it's at 444,000. So we had an increase from last year to this year in local taxes for this budget at 440,000. That's significant decrease. Almost 68% of the budget of the tax impact has been reduced. And so I think that's hard for people to say. They see a bottom number, that number's too high. So there's just factors. And it's hard. It's a complicated process. And it's hard to communicate and get that information out in a way people can digest it. And, looking at tax commitments are going to be coming out prior to this. That's challenging. And so I think there's just a lot of factors now.
Yeah, and after seeing the slide tonight from the special ed director, and our numbers are going up on special ed, that plays a big part of it as well. Those costs have increased tremendously.
Any other comments? Go ahead, Jill.
So I don't want to change the number either. I'm with Doug. And I don't think at this point, whether we change the number, we decrease it or increase it, it's not going to really matter. Hearing from the public, it's all about they're stuck on the trash can of desks, the truck, and they're stuck on things that have no relevance at this point right now. We need to kind of just move on and stop living in that, because that's previous. So now we have to do this, and you're holding up the budget because you're angry about some desks in a dumpster. So for me, I don't want any money taken off.
Anybody else? All right, Robbie.
Yeah, I'd be okay with the same number, but it's not gonna sell. I have, like I said, it's gonna be the amount of people that show up at the polls is gonna be greatly different this time than it was last time. But we're gonna have to go through the budget meeting, and the budget meeting is gonna determine what the number is. So it's gonna be up to the taxpayers at the budget meeting to decide what that number is. And if they agree to keep it the same, it's the same. If they agree to cut it, the budget gets cut and we deal with the number that gets passed at referendum. And that's the part I think a lot of people don't understand. After it leaves that budget meeting, it's not the board's budget anymore. It's the taxpayers' budget. So consequently, if the taxpayers at the budget meeting come out at the budget meeting with a majority, tell us what that number is, that's the number that goes to referendum. The board has no say after that. So we present a budget that we think will fund our schools and help our students learn. So consequently, it's going to come down to the budget number again and what gets passed at referendum. Are we going to get a larger number? Sure, we're going to get a lot more people at the referendum this time than what we have over the last summer, over the last 3 votes. Is that going to make a difference? Who knows? So I'd be happy with the same number.
So, go ahead, Doug.
So another thing to contribute to this is at the last meeting, I mentioned a discussion about surveying the teachers for what they wanted, and I was and trying to address the budget, direct the budget towards direct feedback from the teachers. And one of the things that came up was the PBIS. Parents, teachers, students all do surveys for the PBIS report, which I think everybody kind of forgets. But right now it's the closest we have to a survey. And granted, this was from 2023, August to October 2023, were the results that we have right now. And just for part of the discussion, solely for discussion, I'm not trying to stir anything. I'm trying to show, because some of the lowest hitters, so it seems like the scores go from 1 to 4. The lowest things, and I only have the school personnel, so the teachers and administrators, do they fall under the school personnel too for the PBIS? Do they contribute, administrators too? Just to try to illustrate who contributed to these scores. But so we're talking to people that work in the schools. By school, Libby Tozier, their lowest score was my school building is well maintained. It was at like a 1.1%, which goes into the cost center that was cut the most last year, right, by the town, by the taxpayers. And they want the money to go to what the teachers want. Everything else was above 3 for most of these things for Libby Tozier. Sabattis Primary, actually, most of the things were above 3. I was pretty impressed that my school building is well maintained is 3.25 for Sabattis Primary, which really, to me, says a lot about the custodial staff and everybody at that school, if they can really, because that school's obviously in a quite a state. They had Sabattis Primary, their lowest thing, it seemed, was, according to the staff, students at my school demonstrate behaviors that allow teachers to teach and students to learn. That was one of the lower scores at that one. So moving through, Kerry Ricker, lowest one, one of the lowest ones. If I report unsafe or dangerous behaviors, I can be sure the problem will be taken care of for school safety, was one of their lowest ones, just for a point. So Kerry Ricker, that may benefit from some sort of having staff, right? Something like that could address these issues. Kerry Ricker, their absolute lowest score is 2.32. At this school, parents frequently volunteer to help on special projects. At Oak Hill Middle School, their lowest score is 1.93. At this school, parents frequently volunteer to help on special projects. Their second lowest was tied. Parents at the school frequently attend school activities. So the staff would like to see more of that. Students at the school demonstrate behaviors that allow teachers to teach and students to learn, was their second lowest tied. And then at the high school, parents at my school attend PTA meetings or parent-teacher conferences, and at the school, parents frequently volunteer to help on special projects. Those were 2.19 and 2.14. Most of the other things were above 3 for these PBIS scores. The taxpayers and the parents are telling us that we need to listen to the teachers and the staff, and we need to support them 100%. The staff are telling us that the schools, the students, and the parents all are the things that they're having most concerns with, according to this survey. So I think that as a board, as a board member, I'm also saying that I think we're not getting enough people to show up and vote. Again, yes or no is irrelevant. We're not getting enough people to show up and vote. I'm starting to think that it's unfair as a board member to have people complaining that we're not doing enough and that we need to support the staff when the staff are speaking and saying that it's not the board that's not doing enough, that a little bit more involvement by others would be very helpful to the schools. So we are trying to listen to the parents and the taxpayers. We are trying to listen to the teachers. And what the teachers are saying is we need everybody to be more involved. So I just wish the finger pointing would stop between everybody and just everybody would try to actually show up and be involved in this whole process. And I know that I'm preaching to the choir, and I know the few people, I don't even know if we have anybody on here, but I'm hoping that maybe tomorrow somebody will actually YouTube watch this and listen to this particular point, although it's an hour or so into the meeting. All of the statistics so far are showing that we need more involvement. And I feel like we're just like, keep trying to drop this number to try to get 393 no votes to say yes, instead of all of the people that are complaining and trying to just, we need more people to show up before we can actually have a direction as far as where the number goes.
So I just want to kind of give you a little more than 300 people. I know that you know that. For the Portland Press Herald, just looked at my phone, registered voters in our town as of June 2024. Wales has 1,180.
Yeah.
Sabatis has 3,707, and Litchfield has 2,464. So between our three communities, that's a total of 7,351. And so we had 767
total
come out.
Yeah. And I know everybody's busy. I feel like this is like a never-ending chasing its tail with this, So I feel like the only answer to me is for us to figure out how we can make it as easy as possible to get people to vote one way or another, so that just trying to break down every potential hurdle or roadblock that stands in every single one of those 7,000 plus people's way. And I know that, we can't actually put their face in the water to lead them to water. It's a bad analogy. Bear with me. I didn't mean it like, you know what I mean. That's a bad analogy because you can't lead a horse to water.
I wonder if you were to post a survey. Anyone could kind of start one, right? Like what is prohibiting you from taking the time to come out and vote? Do you not know? Do you not this? Do you not that? Like all of those, like what prohibits you? And I wonder what your responses would be.
Yeah, at the very least to start with that, or be active about it, having I don't know, something.
Because I'm with you. I'm with you on like we've done a lot to make it everywhere it can be, and you know, and there'll be people that they didn't know. Well, how did you not know? Like, do you not have a computer? You know, some people don't, right? Like some people aren't on social media. It's not in the newspaper, and we know that sometimes the mail doesn't show up in your mailbox. So. But I think all these what ifs, like, are they, I mean, you can have a million different things, right? But I think it would be interesting if somebody was to post a survey of such to get that feedback from that. So getting back to like a number thing though, I think, I think that it's a tough spot. I think you've had people that vote no, that, you know, it can't be a penny more. You know, you're kind of asking, you are asking local people in our communities for those increases. So they have to modify their own budgets, right? And that's a challenge in a lot of households in our communities. As we know that kids in our district struggle to get food on the table. So it is a real thing, and it's not, and I understand it's, you know, $45 on $100,000 home and all of these things, but those are real choices that quite a few families in our district, whether they're elderly or they're young or they got kids or they're wherever they're at, it is an ask that you know, can't just, and I don't think any of us do take lightly that we're asking people to make these adjustments in their personal lives, and it does significantly impact some of them. I do go back to, you know, that there was only 767 people that showed up. So, as well as those public budget meetings, there's 60. I was not able to attend the last one, but there was 60-ish the last few that I've attended. And I think that is a struggle as well, because that's people that set the number. People also aren't raising that number. So we do go in there at our 22 million, whatever, and we don't come out of there with 28 million, you know, either. So,
But we're not coming out with any less either.
Correct. So,
And I don't want to lose sight that we were very close this vote. I mean, it was 20 votes.
Mhm.
It wasn't like the last time where it's, you know, there's a big gap. The gap has gotten smaller. So I think that's up to me.
Turnout.
Right, the turnout was smaller. We lost 85 votes at normal. I think it was 85 between last time this. So I hear you, but also it was a close vote.
Go ahead, Diane.
People are asking, how can we get more people to go? And I know maybe we see a lot of things at this board meeting that our schools are doing. I think we need to show the community more of that. So maybe doing some sort of a little slide presentation during that school budget meeting that's presented to the community might be an incentive just to show them what is going on in our schools. We need to sell ourselves. We're doing amazing. I've worked in this district, and I have to tell you, I am so proud of all that we have accomplished in this district, and our kids are really getting a good education. And yes, some will complain that the test scores, it's not all about a test score. Kids, one score or one test does not tell you everything about that child. You're looking at growth. You want your child to grow, and you grow in all kinds of ways. And I think our community needs to support our school district, because we are really trying to make our students better people, and so they can learn going into their adult life. I mean, we have some kids that are going into schools that are prestigious schools who have very good jobs coming out of the school district. I think we need to focus on that too. So I think we need to sell ourselves.
Okay. And that's just a day sigh. I've had a week. Christy, I don't want to forget about you. Do you have any comments about the number, where you're at, or what you're thinking?
And much as my fellow board members that have shared so far have said, like, I don't think that there's any wiggle room to cut at this point. In doing so would be quite catastrophic. And I'm not the type of person to be like, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world, but we would be talking about major, our district would look very different in terms of what it could offer. So I'm comfortable leaving it where we're at this point.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Scott or Matt, you're the only two. I haven't really, I didn't want to speak ahead of you. I mean, I'm really on the fence. I mean, I think the budget is what we truly believe right now is what is necessary to fund our schools and to provide our students with the best education this year. But I still think that something's wrong with the system, like that it's fundamentally wrong. And I don't think that that's our fault. I mean, most of us aren't, we haven't been doing this. Well, Robbie has, right? We haven't been doing this for that long. And it's not to say that it was done wrongly before. It's just different. Things are changing. I think the proposed for the budget committee is a great idea. I think we really do need to dig in and see exactly, where is our spending? Where does it need to be tightened up even more, but not at the detriment of any students or staff. We had the consolidation committee. We have all of these things in flight. They're just not able to resolve it today. They're not instant options. I would like to see a lower number, but I don't know where to send you, Katie, for that. That's my struggle. So, being at that kind of juncture, I mean, I think I would have to proceed with the current number and see where we land with more voters. And again, just like that, sorry, I didn't know. I thought so. Wherever we land, but I mean, if we have more of a tip, maybe we'll get a general idea on where to move next. I don't know. We're totally speculating here. Go ahead, Doug.
Can we preemptively send absentee vote ballots to every house?
I do not believe so.
You can't do that.
I
They
do not
have to
believe
request it. They have to request
I think
it.
that Sheena's going to have to lock the buses up because Doug is going to. I'm with you though. Like I offered people if they wanted to ride, whichever way they vote. Like I don't care. But if you need some support to get there, like I am an Uber driver nowadays, so I can do that.
I guess if there was a way we could just send them the ballots and all they have to do is vote from the comfort of their home, we would get more participation at least. I don't know,
Yeah, I mean, we could probably, send a van around maybe to go get them. No, I wouldn't do a bus. Wouldn't want them getting on a bus. I don't want to get on a bus. We could do that maybe, but we can't. We can't bring them a ballot or send them a ballot that's unrequested. Unfortunately, I mean, the other option is to, do they need childcare? I mean, I bring my children with me. I mean, it's quick.
Yeah.
But I walked in last night at 7:58, and Brenda looked at me and goes, "What?" I'm like, I had a flat tire. It was a nightmare day, but I had to go vote. But maybe they have these challenges or struggles that we can put something out for that. I don't know what. Like Laura said, a sign-up sheet. I mean, I can drive people too. My tire's not flat, but I don't know. Do we want to?
You're going to have more votes because of it's a presidential election. What's hard is this year has started, right? So people become, school's going fine, everything's going fine, and then your day gets lost. You look up the clock and you go, oh my gosh, it's 8 o'clock, I missed going. or I forgot to go, or my life got busy and I forgot to go, and there isn't the urgency or there isn't something driving me there in the sense of we're going to lose sports, for example. That would drive me to get there, right? So it's hard because the year has started, so you're trying to understand what would be the impact if I vote or I don't vote. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think that's a challenge because we're late in the year. So I think presidential election is going to bring out a lot of people.
I think that most of us kind of understand that, right? Like we've all been through this for years. I think my like where I'm at is, and I'm next year. Like this is going to be a conversation in just a couple of months, and the 2 years I've been on the board has taken multiple times to get a budget passed, and I just want to be more proactive about getting it to pass the first time because I see that in other districts. So like just I think that's like where most of my conversation, my thought is at. Like I think all of this, I think it's just, and we keep saying that it's going to go to the November vote and there's going to be more people and it's going to pass and will be fine is kind of what I'm hearing. But I think like to not continue all of this again next year is just what I'm thinking.
I'd like to pick up from there because that's part of what my hang up is too, is I really want to advocate for a school budget, but my fear is this is going to continue year after year after year. Like I get inflation, okay, we're there, I'll live this every day, but we need to be way more proactive in future budgets about where we're really bloated in our spending. We also need to get rid of a lot of things, liquidate some assets and put it in on the revenue side so we can reduce. And there's just like a lot of things that we need to address there. So I still think, 5% is still too high for me, but I agree. I don't see where you can make many cuts at this point. Next year, I think we need to address and look at making some different changes for that because you can't sustain that. You can't. And we have to live with the ramifications of this decision after this vote because it's true. You're going to have the numbers to push this through. The number we choose is irrelevant because you're going to have the numbers to force it through. But we still have to live with the ramifications of what that decision is. That this is ultimately going to impact people financially. And for those no vote people, I am speaking for myself, but I just don't. It's not a teacher support issue. It's not a student support issue. I personally want the best for the students. I support the staff. I think they're doing a fantastic job, but for me, it's really the areas of the budget that are bloated and we're spending too much money in those areas and the frivolous spending that was probably done in the past, but I think we need to address those going forward. I think you should probably just stick with the number because that's all we can get. And really, we need to focus next year on long-term savings. We can't do 5% every year. Do the math on that over 10 years. You can't do it. People will be, you don't have everybody left in town to participate. You have no tax base because nobody will live here anymore.
Yep. Thanks, Scott. Oh, go ahead, Diane.
I suggest that we go with the number that we had. What's interesting is Facebook pulls out your memories, and 8 years ago, we were going through the same thing here. It's all the time.
For
And
1% though, last year was not even 2%, right? And 5%, and I know that's down from over 8,
but
but it's still more than double what it was last year. And like,
But
this
I
is what I'm
think we're-
saying. Like,
yeah, we're picking up for some of the positions that were started during COVID.
and our
that
head
were
count's
paid
going
by
down,
COVID.
so we need to.
Yeah,
I'm really confused why head count is going down, but special education numbers are going up. That's kind of confusing, and I know it is part of our budget. It's a big factor about Let's drill down and find out why. Why is that? Why are we having, it's a significant number. I saw the numbers. It's looked pretty big to
Yeah.
me. It's a pretty big jump year over year in the last 5 years anyway. Well, why? And especially when the head count overall is going down.
Yeah, because my first year teaching, I had maybe one child with a behavior or issue. When I ended, there were many, and they were not, I mean, I can say back then they were little behaviors. Now they're big behaviors. They're really hard to deal with. You can't teach a class of 15 kids if you have just one that just disrupts the whole environment. And, I used to like to start the year off with a full class and not be the one that has less in my class, because that one child coming in can just totally mess up the whole makeup of your class. So it is more difficult for teachers to teach in this day and age than it was years ago. I mean, I can attest to that. It is not easy. It is just not easy. And I give it all to the teachers today with what they have to deal with in the classroom. It is overwhelming. And that's one reason why we have such, teachers are not going to enter that field anymore, because it is so difficult. For the amount of money you make and the amount of time you spend and the amount of things you have to deal with, it's just crazy.
Yeah, anyway, it's not about, like Laura said a bunch of times, if we could do a $50 million budget, we would. If we could do turf
Yeah.
fields tomorrow, I would. If we could have, the best of everything, we totally would. But we have to be reasonable. We have to think about, the students that you're affecting with their education by not passing a budget or making a bunch of cuts. Like, what is the financial impact on their household, and how does that impact their household lives? You're talking about a rise in abuse and alcoholism and all these other factors, because now there's a bigger financial strain in the household. So we need to really set our sights for the following year and the year after that and the year after that of really making some serious long-term cuts. I'll support the 5% now, but with the promise that going forward in the following years, we really take a look at where our budget is loaded.
Thanks, Scott. Go ahead, Matt.
Nicole, you had touched on a lot of things that I had in mind. One thing I did want to say was, we're going to have these meetings between now and not the referendum, but the public budget meeting anyways. So I will move forward with the 5% right now. I do feel that it could be significantly less, but not in the time frame that we have to do it. I have some ideas, but that's for the next, I guess, the 26th discussion. But with these meetings coming up, I don't want to hold fast to that number tonight. Someone had brought up earlier seeing where we're at in the budget right now, and if there's any room for projection reductions, and then, to be brought up for the next meeting. Lost my train of thought.
Okay.
And I just have an ask that we look at the 16th to have the special meeting maybe at a different location than central office, if it could be at a school.
So the special
18th.
meeting is would be the 16th.
Oh,
That would be if we don't come to a number approved on the 9th. I mean, in all honesty, if we leave here tonight saying that's our number, we don't even need the 9th or the 16th. But if we want to send Katie back with something to come up with a different number or to see what she might be able to propose, right, and not just go with the 5%, that's what we can do. We just have to give her some direction. But even still, the 16th may not necessarily happen if we were to come back on the 9th and still have a number at that time. But I hear you. I've been told that coming to central office feels like going to the principal's office from some people out there. And I also want to say too, there's a lot of discussion about behaviors, student behaviors. And I just want to make sure that it's not just special education, right?
No,
like
it's
this
not.
is
It's
my daughter her teacher has it cut out for her this year. I mean, and I'm like, you know, she needs some structure and she needs to be strictly governed. So, and I know it's difficult, and I couldn't even, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't be a teacher. So God bless them. And they're great, and I do appreciate them. And I too, you know, want to give them a budget that supports them, supports our teachers, but also makes our taxpayers happy, right? Like, you're talking about a trifecta there. It's almost impossible for what we're trying to accomplish here. But from what I'm hearing, I do kind of want to just summarize where we're at. We are thinking as a board that we will proceed with the current number as is. Is there any idea or direction that we want to give to Katie for an October 9th discussion, or do we want to just move forward with?
I would still like to see if she can make some reductions.
Yeah.
Why not?
That's what I said,
Look at it again. I mean, what about on the revenue side? Is there any opportunity to, because you increased it by a pretty significant amount last time. Where is there additional funding that could be utilized to reduce taxes?
The revenue we used last time was we raised fund balance
Yeah.
and we reduced adult
Fund
education.
balance. That's what. Thank you for.
You're welcome. And we reduced adult education. I'm just saying, yes, I can look, and I also have to be mindful that we are in September, and we have many months ahead, and we can't be too tight. That's I hear you. Obviously, we have to look at everything but staffing, and so because as you know, as you get in the school year, you know we don't want to be reducing staff that then costs.
Would it then only be temporary though? Because if we add from the fund balance, can you not liquidate some assets to increase that?
For example, what? What's an asset?
The pellet boiler that's never been used at the high school, buses that aren't being used, a brand new pickup truck. I mean, there's got to be some assets we can liquidate. to
It
increase
won't. It
that.
wouldn't go towards this budget. It would go into.
Sure, but
It wouldn't reduce taxes for November.
It's still in the fund, and should something happen, you can't access that.
No, you can't. No.
Okay, so I've heard a couple of people say that they still want Katie to go back and just take another look, take one more look, make sure that there isn't anything else.
Yep.
And we'll come back on October 9th.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
So it sounds like it's this number or a lower number, depending on. We'll go back through it again, see where we are with hiring, because we've hired a few folks, and we can look at that, and we can look at open positions.
Because the 9th is a regular board meeting anyway.
Yes, 9th's a regular board.
Correct. Correct. And then we wouldn't need the special, or we could, depending on the conversation that night. And then we would still proceed with the 23rd for the public vote meeting and November 5th for the election.
So the 23rd is a public budget meeting, which means we would not have a regular board meeting on that night?
Correct.
Is it possible to take turns at the different schools to have some board meetings? Because that might get some people in as well. I know we used to do that.
Oh, absolutely. We need to make sure people know where we are.
Yeah.
Because then they
Yeah.
say, I went to central office, and
confusing.
it's confusing.
Yeah.
And we have to set up, we did do that last year. We had a couple of meetings. I remember we had a couple of
We
meetings
always
at
used to do
different
that.
schools.
Usually we'd
Yep.
have one board meeting around
In
budget
each
time in
town.
each town.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did that last year. Yeah, we did do that.
Okay, so I think we're good. We're gonna send Katie back, see what else might be there. And then every little bit does help, and we'll come back on October 9th and see where we land. All right. On to our committee reports. Tonight we have finance and facilities. Doug, is that you this year? You're the chair?
Yeah. So, should I start with the finance and operate? I'll start with we pushed it down, the financial report was 5.2, so it got moved down. Currently, because we're starting a new year, or we're into a new year by about 2 months or so, we have about 16.44% of anticipated revenue in, which is pretty right on par with last year. Our expenses, we've paid out about 13.54% of our budget, which is pretty close to what it was last year. And then adult ed, where we've gotten 17.02% of anticipated revenue, and we've expended 17.88% of the adult ed budget. School nutrition's the one that seems a little off, but it's typical because, again, as mentioned by Sam, we don't serve lunches much during the summer time. So we've only received in 1% of the school nutrition revenue, but that's going to take an uptick once it goes into the school year, and they're buying lunches and stuff. And then we've expended 6.64% of the school nutrition budget just to cover the financial report with that. As far as the Finance and Facilities Committee, we approved the May 8th minutes, which is crazy. It was that long ago because we have a subcommittee meeting in between there, which it was the last one. I think we actually had the last two right in between that time period. So that is now dissolved. And that brought up kind of an old business. Was as part of the dissolving, we wanted to try to start up another subcommittee, because that last consolidation committee was more of the should we and what should we do as far as consolidating. And it seemed pretty unanimous that both schools are in such need of repair that we should really look into closing both. So the Facilities and Finance Committee would like to set up, and we voted today to set up a subcommittee to kind of just to determine the how and the when, and figure out a timeline and how to proceed going forward with that. So that was a big topic of conversation. We voted in a new committee chair, which is me. Right, that was part of the new business. I went over the financial report. We're dealing with the audit process for this year. I think this is very important to really emphasize, is that we have a third-party auditor that audits the financials for the schools, and they go through and make sure that any, what did they call it? Liabilities, or he used a more tax accountant speak, but basically any liabilities in the system as far as our financials, they try to make sure that they can target in and shore up anything that could be a potential negative aspect of it. So it's important to stress that we have a third party that's actually auditing all of the financials in the school system to make sure the money goes where it needs to go and that everything is flowing in a properly documented way. The budget committee planning, we didn't really confirm anything with that, but there is discussion about having a budget committee and how to proceed with this budget committee, either as how we typically do it. And the idea with the budget committee is that typically we have our typical way as a school board is that we will have the superintendent and all that. She will just come up with she'll figure out the budget and then place that, and we kind of just debate on it after the fact. There's some talk about maybe a workshop style with the whole school board, or having a subcommittee that maybe can be more involved, guided through what the superintendent and her staff do to set up a budget, so that we can become more informed just in how that process goes. And maybe it might help us with questions and that kind of stuff. So it's one of the things that was kind of been mentioned. I think all of that pretty much. There were two other things that were business. We didn't really have any time for talking about bus repairs or the Lance buses that's going to hit on the next meeting. So there's a lot. There's a lot going on.
So, again, so the next meeting, you would vote on the recommendation of having another consolidation subcommittee that is now doing the how are we going to, per the recommendation of closing 2 schools, how would we proceed and how would that work? So you'll be asked to approve that.
All right, thank you. Next is our board member comments. Sorry, I looked left first. Go ahead, Doug.
I just really want to make it known that by reading the PBIS surveys, I'm not trying to imply that, because some of those, there's some themes kind of coming up, but I don't want to imply, I truly feel that everybody's trying to do what they can as far as trying to make the schools better, between the staff, the school boards, the parents, the students. I truly believe that everybody in this day and age, we're all being pulled a million directions in our own personal lives. I don't want anything to ever come across that there's a particular group that's to blame. I think that totally shuts down everything that we're trying to accomplish. So I want to really stress that I don't think anybody's to blame, and I think everybody's trying to do their best. Personally, I think going forward, I really just trying to focus on any roadblocks or hurdles that even slightly impede people, because everybody is being pulled in so many directions that anything, it might seem insignificant, that why can't they drive to a poll, or why can't this school board member do this? Yeah, you don't know what's going on in their personal life. So I really want to stress that I totally understand everything. And that's why I feel like every grain of sand that might impede their drive or somebody's involvement is important. And if we can do our best within our ability to remove every grain of sand, that's the only way we can try to overcome this stuff. I don't know. So I just really want to make sure that's known.
Okay, so I looked left and I saw 2 or 3 hands. Who would like to go first? Laura?
We can start at the end, I guess. I just wanted to thank the Sabatis Police Department for sitting at the Oak Hill Middle School the last few mornings. I think it's a little bit sad that we have to also have them present in that day, in that space, to remind people that the speed limit on when children are around should be 15 miles an hour when you are dropping off your kids and things. So I just wanted to give them a shout out and thank them for that.
Thank you, Laura. No, I thought I heard thunder or something. That was like, I heard a rumble in my ear. That's why I was like flipping around. Sorry about that. Go ahead. I think Diane's yielding to Matt. Yep, okay.
So without naming any names, pointing any fingers, anything like that, some concerns have been brought to my attention regarding some of the members of the board's use of social media, especially on the RSU4 community forums, mostly regarding the budget vote and those related comments. Some of those comments have been misleading, alienating, and sowing division amongst parents, voters, and staff members. How someone chooses to vote and why they choose to vote either way does not automatically mean that they are voting against our students, our teachers, our staff, or the quality of the education that is being provided. Furthermore, it's been brought to my attention that some members of the board have made attempts to have admin of some of these community forums remove people for expressing opposing opinions. Seeing some of these comments, I find it difficult to have an open and honest discussion as we enter into our 4th attempt at passing this budget.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Diane.
I would like to say thank you to Katie and all her staff for all the hard work, and also all the communities, offices and town halls who have been working on getting all of this done for the budget votes. And that's it.
Okay, thank you, Diane. Christy, I just want to see if you wanted to say anything. You poor thing. Okay, I feel like I had to thank somebody to do for doing something, so just thank everybody. I don't know right now. I really don't have a whole lot to say about anything else. I don't think my mind is quite a blur right now. Thank you, to everybody for coming out to vote, for being here tonight, for our admin, our teachers, for putting up with my children. They're difficult, so and I get it. So thank you, just thank you, and the bus drivers. I know we've had a couple of illnesses, but I think we're also doing a lot better than last year, which is a great improvement. So thank you, Sheena, for that. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Is there anybody else before we move on to our next item? Okay. So next on our agenda is to enter into executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA section 405 6A
Recording in progress.
My wife's like, "What's going on?" this is really long.
Unless there's any objection, we will adjourn tonight's meeting.
Is this on? So I just have one to note participation of the current board of who is present exiting executive session.
I'm sorry, I forgot I wasn't talking into a mic. So exiting executive session was, you want me to go?
Just do a roll call
guys-
of who's in attendance.
All right, we'll start over here.
So I'm gonna say Doug Bumpus.
Rob Dayton?
Nicole Russell. Oh, for sharing.
Diane Whalen.
Matt Early.
Laura Clifford.
Scott Fife.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Night.
And good night.